was suffering, Ronke, with ingrowing toenails on both feet. It had started to get a little worse than it had been a few years previously. And I'd been occasionally to a podiatrist, but all of a sudden the pain increased. So I got on the phone and found somewhere that could treat me quickly. And luckily I was able to get an available appointment. It was probably a gap in the schedule, but knowing how busy you are. But yes, I was delighted to be seen by somebody. Well, it was a bit of a surprise in that at the beginning I was asked to participate in a few tests. I thought, oh, this is a bit different. This hasn't happened in any of the other podiatrists I've been to before. And a big machine was rolled into the office and various leads were clipped onto my foot. I believe it was to do with the measuring circulation in the foot. You pointed out to me on a speaker, which I could hear quite clearly, that I had a very irregular heartbeat. And that obviously concerned me a bit. And you asked me, did your doctor know about this? Is it on your medical record? And I said, no, nobody's picked it up as far as I know. And I only had a annual medical about 2 weeks previously and come through with no problems. So it was a bit of a surprise. And you'd suggested that I should see my doctor ASAP. And in fact, you stopped everything and proceeded to write a letter there and then. I visited the doctor directly from the clinic and went there within 10 minutes. I was actually at the doctor's, and I was lucky to be able to see a doctor on duty within about half an hour. And they agreed that I should have some further tests. And that's quite a long story, but basically after tests carried out in the surgery and further tests carried out at the Royal Berks in the, not surgical, what do they call it?
Vascular.
Vascular area. They found that I did have arterial fibrillation, and it was quite an extreme diagnosis of arterial fibrillation. The end result is, as well as having classic arterial fibrillation, I also was diagnosed with an aortic aneurysm, which was at a potentially dangerous size, which led to many other investigations. So my whole medical situation in the following months and years from that diagnosis that you made, Ronke, it really, in some ways, it probably could have saved my life, because, as you know, if you have a burst aortic aneurysm, you have about 40 minutes before you pass away, if it bursts. It was very important. It really affected the speed at which I was able to get treatment. And I was so impressed with that linkage between the different medical disciplines. And I honestly believe, now knowing a lot more about the clinic here and the experience of yourself and your team, that it is more medical, a wider medical focus than what you would get in the average. But it's far more than normal service. It's a much wider medical review, which is what I value. Well, I think often this can be a indication of other health issues within the body. And I think that I wouldn't suffer with an ingrowing toenail. If it's treated properly, these things can be addressed and they can be cured. I think don't leave things too long. Take the plunge, go in, contact Bronchi at Vale. It's a great business, and I believe they're very professional, and I don't think you'll find better in the area.